And greetings to you all, and Hari Bol from Sadhu-bhavan, Camp Sadhu-bhavan. Srila Prabhupada used to refer to the place wherever he was when he wrote a letter, at least in the early days. He would identify the place with the word camp. You know, sort of like we're just camped out here for some time and moving on. It can also be a sort of a military expression, I think. So here we are at Camp Sadhu-bhavan. And for the moment, the sun is shining. Just as I said that, the sun went behind a cloud. Okay. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivinoda Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namasreshtam Manamapi Satchiputram Atra Sarupam Rupam Tasyagajam Ruparim Goštavim Goštavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurung Tang Natosmi. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachimata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodara, Rupa Goswami, and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, divine Radha Kunda, and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Shri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we are going to sing another song from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Saranagati, part 4, I believe. The Lord as protector of Avasya Raksibe, Krishna Visvasa Palana. And then we'll see if anyone has any show and tell. I think we could also see if anyone has some question we could discuss. And I'm thinking, but I'm also worried about translation, to read, maybe I'll just read one or two verses from Kalakanta Prabhu from his nice book of poems glorifying Srila Prabhupada. And we also have today, I hope it's happening, we have another surprise guest visitor. Guest visitor? A surprise guest. A visitor. A surprise. And depending how much time will be there before or after or both, we may continue to discuss the nature of the holy Dham and possibly pastimes related to the holy Dham. I just got a message 2 days ago. There's going to be another conference of this group who are studying as an academic practice, studying pilgrimage. And the one I took part in April. So I'm being invited to attend that. That's going to happen one day in December. So it has me thinking again about the subject that we're discussing, but I have to think how to say something on the, shall we say, academic side. But it's a very easygoing group, I have to say. And they just want a very short report from everyone about sort of progress in research. Okay, so we'll think of something to say. I'm thinking about the subject of the connection between renunciation and pilgrimage, and specifically in our literature, narratives, stories, accounts of devotees who, in some way or another, a state of renunciation, formal or otherwise, are going on some pilgrimage. Like Srinivasa Acharya visiting Vrindavan, being guided by Raghava Pandit. Or in the Mahabharata, there's Vidura. An interesting case is Balaram. Balaram is not, he's not a sannyasi, but he goes on pilgrimage during the Battle of Kurukshetra because he wants to take a neutral position. He has friends on both sides of the battle, so he decides best thing is to remove himself. Yeah, and I'm thinking about the idea of Digvijay. Digvijay, literally conquering the directions, is something that devotees do. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he goes to South India, meets all these people, different kinds, and we can say this is a kind of a Digvijay journey. Anyway, these thoughts are there. Okay, here we go. This is song number, which song number? This is song number 2 of Avasya Raksibe or Raksibe, Krishna Visvasa Palana, and in a very mystical way, this harmonium decided to work again, at least up until 5 minutes ago, because when we asked Akhilatmananda Prabhu to check the harmonium last week after it didn't work, he came and he looked at it and it worked again. Mystic power, harmonium repair, mystic power. Tumi to Maribe Jare, ketare raki te pare, icchā-baśa ti-bhovana. Tumi to Maribe Jare, ketare raki te pare, icchā-baśa ti-bhovana. Brahmā-ādi deva-gan, tavadasa aganan, kore tava agyara pada. Brahmā-ādi deva-gana, tavadasa aganana, kore tava agyara pada. Tava icchā-mate jata, graha-gan avirata, shubha-shubha phala kore dan. Tava icchā-mate jata, graha-gan avirata, shubha-shubha phala kore dan. roga-śoka-mr ti-bhoy, tava icchā-mate hoy, tava agya sada-bala. roga-śoka-mr ti-bhoy, tava icchā-mate hoy, tava agya sada-bala. Tava bhaye vayu-boy, chanda-surja samudoy, swa-swa karja kore. Tava bhaye vayu-boy, chanda-surja samudoy, swa-swa karja kore. Tumi to parameshvar, para-brahma paratpar, tava-bāśa bhakata-antare. Tumi to parameshvar, para-brahma paratpar, tava-bāśa bhakata-antare. Sadā-śuddha siddha-kāma, bhakata-vatsala nam, bhakata-janera nitya-swāmī. Sadā-śuddha siddha-kāma, bhakata-vatsala nam, bhakata-janera nitya-swāmī. Tumi to Raksibe Jare, ketare marite bhare, Sakala vidhira vidhi Tumi Raksibe Jare Ketare marite pare Sakala vidhir vidhi Tumi Tomara charane nata Koriyache pranipata Bhaktivinoda tava das Tomara charane nata Koriyache pranipata Bhaktivinoda tava das Vipada hoite Swami Avasya tahare Tumi Raksibe tahare Visvasa Vipada hoite Swami Avasya tahare Tumi Raksibe tahare Visvasa Tumi Raksibe Jare Ketare rakite pare icchā-baśa tri-bhovan Tumi Raksibe Jare Ketare rakite pare icchā-baśa tri-bhovan brahmā-ādi deva-gan tavadasa aganan kore tava agyara Palana brahmā-ādi deva-gan tavadasa aganan kore tava agyara Palana Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Haribo, 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 Gaur Haribo, Nitai Go, Haribo, 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 Haribo. Tumi Maribe Jare Ketare rakite pare icchā-baśa tribhuvana. Who can protect that person whom you wish to slay? Tumi to Maribe Jare. You, you wish to slay. Maribe, to kill, will kill, or may kill. Ke tare rakite pare. Who can protect Raksha? Who can protect Rakite from that? Icchā-baśa. The three worlds are obedient to your will. Icchā, I think we had this word, means desire, but it seems to have more the sense of will, the divine will. Baśa means force, the force of the desire of the Lord. The gods headed by Brahma, brahmā-ādi, deva-gan, tava-dasa aganana. They are your countless servants. Ganana is counting. Aganana cannot be counted. Kore tava agyar palana. They stand ready to execute your agya, your order. Tava icchā-mate jata graha-gana avirata. By your will, the planets, the word graha is interesting. It means planet, and it also means crocodile. And it has to do with biting and grasping. So graha, we have the word anugraha, literally following grasping. It has the sense of mercy. Graha-gana, all the grahas, all the planets, tava icchā-mate jata, they go by your will. Shubha ashubha pala koredan. We're always wanting to know what is the future, and we go to the astrologer, and the astrologer looks at the planets, and from the planets we get maybe some indications. And here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, well, that's all fine, but actually all the planets are under the order of Krishna. The auspicious and inauspiciousness of the planets, that's really all determined by the Lord. Roga-śoka-mr, ti-bhoy, illness, grief, death, fear. Tava icchā-mate hoy, they're all simply by your will. Tava agya sadā-bhavan, your command is all powerful. Balavan, of course, means powerful. Sada, always. Tava agnya, your order. Third verse, in fear of you, the wind blows, and the sun, moon, and all others perform their allotted duties. Tava boye, vayu, boy, the air blows out of fear of you, tava boye. Chandra surya sam udoy, the sun and the moon, they rise. Swa-swa niyamita karja kore, and everyone does their own niyamas, their own regulations, according to your will. Tumi to parameshvar, para-brahma paratpara tava-bāsa bhakata-antare. You're the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Spirit, the Supreme above all, paratpara. Your residence is in the heart of your loving devotee. Tava Vasa, Vasa residence, bhakata-antare. And this comes frequently with Bhaktivinoda Thakura. We get, in order to have the rhythm of the song, instead of bhakta, it becomes bhakata. Antare, within the bhakta. Then you are eternally pure, sadā-śuddha. All your desires are fulfilled, siddha-kāma. Your name is bhakata-vatsala, bhakata-vatsala nama. For you are very affectionate to the Vaishnavas. Bhakata-janera, nitya-swāmī. Swami can mean Lord, Master, but it has the sense also, especially in South India, I believe, of husband, which is interesting because the sannyasis go by the name Swami. But here, nitya-swāmī is one who is always affectionate, caring. Tumi to Raksibe Jare, you are the eternal Lord of your loving devotees. Ke tare marite pari, let's see. You can slay that person whom you wish. Who can slay that person whom you wish to protect? Ke is the question word. Who? Tare marite pare. Marite, who would be able to, pare, I think, would be able to kill you, or who can slay that person, who can kill that person whom you wish to protect. Shakal vidhi Tumi. You are the law of all laws. And here he's translating the word vidhi. Vidhi means generally rules of what you should do in devotional practice. So we have Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Vidhi is a rule, a regulation. And maybe if we say in a more strong sense, law. So you are the law of laws. Vidhir, vidhi. And finally, Tomar chorane nata, koriache pranipata, Bhaktivinoda tavadas. O Lord, your eternal servant Bhaktivinoda has bowed down at your lotus feet. Koriache pranipata. We have in Bhagavad Gita, tat vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. The three things we do in approaching the Guru. Here Bhaktivinoda is approaching the Lord, pranipata, and he says, Bhaktivinoda tavadas, I am your servant. And then he addresses the Lord as Swami. Vipada hoite Swami. Avasya tahare Tumi. Raksibe tahar e Visvasa. So Master, he, Bhaktivinoda, speaking of himself in the third person, cherishes the faith, the Visvasa, that you will surely protect him. Surely is Avasya, and protect, Raksibe, will protect from all dangers. Vipada hoite, from vipada. Vipada means dangers. Padam yat vipadam. So another song expressing conviction. Since the Lord is all-powerful, since the Lord is since the will of the Lord is fulfilled in all cases, therefore he is the person to take shelter of and to be confident of that he will protect. And of course, the question comes, will he really protect against so many dangers in this world? And well, we can say the Lord has all the power to protect us in this world. And if it is his will that we be not protected at some time in this world, then in any case, we will be protected. Ourselves, our eternal selves, the real self, will be ever protected by the Lord, and therefore there is no cause for fear. And as for auspiciousness and inauspiciousness, we talked about this, I think, some weeks ago. Dvaite Bhadra Bhadragyan Shabmanodharm. Bhadra and Abhadra is the same as Shubha and Ashubha. E Balo, E Manda, E Shabram. The idea that something is auspicious and something is inauspicious is actually a mistake. It's a mistake because we're not taking account of who is determining what is auspicious and what is inauspicious. And of course, for a devotee, every moment is favorable for devotional service. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Okay, so let's see. Do we have anyone showing and telling today?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, we have Mataji Sugopi Tungavidya and then Ramananda Gopal Prabhu.
Okay.
Sugopi Tungavidya, Mataji, can you unmute, please?
Hare Krishna Maharaj and Hare Krishna everyone. Yes, like we have been thinking about, yes, Hare Krishna. We have been thinking about Vrindavan Dham since like for quite some time, and as the Kartik month is soon approaching. So I was going through this book for last few months, weeks, Sri Vraja Niti Chintamani by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. And it's a book of poem completely dedicated to Vraja. So I selected few verses to recite from chapter 1. And what I find in this book, like in this first chapter, he's considering Vrindavan to be quite opulent. I could relate it to Goloka, in fact. Should I start reciting this?
Yeah, just one thing. Please try to, for our translators, to be merciful with our translators. Try to read slowly. Yeah.
Yallokariti shruti pite matral lokatara natma nu bhave pramodam mukteva mukta sprihayanti yasye tam Krishna lila vrajabhumim ide. I praise the land of Vraja, where Krishna performs his pastimes. Liberated souls, upon hearing the descriptions of that place and its inhabitants, give up the joy of realizing extraordinary Brahman and desire this place. Kavyam kave kavyataya prasidham kavasya kavyam chayato api kavyam Tadeva kavyam mama kavya kavyam vrajeka kavyam paramastu kavyam. May I able to write excellent verses describing only Vraja, since such verses are the only poetry. The poet's verses become famous by poetic skill and become the essence of poetry when they concern Vraja. Vaikuntha kotyaschita asatelam brahmanda kotyo api chito chitopi sarvatra vrindavanam etateva yatha sa Krishna pulinas sanando. What is the value of millions and millions of Vaikunthas and millions of universes? Everything exists in Vrindavan, just as Krishna expands himself personally to be with each cowherd boy while eating lunch on the bank of the Yamuna. Idam ghanibhuta chidekarupam Vrindavanam yatra vasanti sarve Shri Krishna Leela Parivara Rupa Yatheva Krishna Satatheva Tepi. This Vrindavana is a form of condensed knowledge. The associates in Krishna's pastimes reside there just as Krishna resides there. Sarvottamanam api sarvatha syat svanyo na bhava prabhu bhakti shaktya pratyaksha ikshe vrajaloka etam tam prakritam maniyatma chit arche. By the power of devotion to the Lord, the best devotees think themselves to be the lowest. I see this attitude directly in the people of Vraja, who, though the best persons to be worshipped by all spiritual persons, think themselves to be material beings. Teneva tasyeva vashastatheva tatreva nityam vilasati alamsa Atyantiker eva rahasya rasye madhurya pure ramita prakashe. Controlled by them, because of their humility, he constantly plays with them in Vraja, with unlimited manifestations, filled with the highest, most intimate rasas, which produce the greatest sweetness. Vrindavanam Gokula Dhama Ghoshtam Vrajam Chanamni Shubhani Yasya Tatiya Lokiyam Achintya Krityam Vanchami Kinchit Dayaye Tesham. By the mercy of the inhabitants of Vraja, I desire to describe, know and attain to a small degree this place called Vrindavana, Gokula or Vraja, the people residing there, their inconceivable activities. Tachachiro bhutam aparashobham Nandishwaram sadhu-gana vadanti Nandishwaram tam chayativa rupam Shri Nanda Rajya Liraja Manam. The devotees speak of Nandishwara, the topmost place unsurpassed in splendor, and consider to be Shiva himself, where the place of Nanda is situated. Prachyam griham tatrisham eva yatra Prachyam sayasyantara prakoshte Swaputra bhadraya nijeshta devam Narayanam sevate vananda. On the eastern side is a building like Krishna's with a courtyard. On its eastern side, there Nanda worships Narayana, his deity, for the welfare of his son. Yatreva shuddha pranaya svabhava premaneva jananti param swabandhum lokatara lokavadevatam cha swam cha tatrasti na kim vichitram. In Raja, the people endowed with natural pure love see the Supreme Lord as their friend out of prema. Though they are in the highest position, they see Krishna and themselves to be ordinary people. Is this not surprising? Guna tu te prakata dharma shunya dosha syurasa eva manya nanda braje kotukam eva sarvam kharvam vidhate triguna karvam. Their qualities are devoid of material aspects. What appear to be false are actually components of rasa. Everything in Raja is astonishing. The three gunas become devoid of material pride. Shri Krishna Pitre Pitri Bhava Bhavam Jananti Sarve Swapitri Swabhavam Shri Nanda Rajam Brajamadhya Rajam Sadeka Rupam. All understand that Nanda acts affectionately as father of Krishna and as the king of Braja acts as their father as well. He has one nature and one form eternally. Yasyasti gehe sahadharmacharini chit kalpavalli vasharira dharini Vatsalya sampati rasa swarupini yasyeva phalam Shri Bhagavan Swayamani. In Nanda's house resides Yashoda, his faithful wife. With her spiritual body, she is like a spiritual wish-fulfilling vine. She is the form of greatest Vatsalya rasa. For her arose the jewel of Swayam Bhagavan as fruit. Kechit sakhyo trihasya manya rahasya sevasvapi kepidhanya sakhi samana subalojvaladya sadojvala ujvala drishti adya. Some of the friends are revered for their intimate relationship with Krishna. Others are fortunate to sometimes engage in more confidential service. Subala, Ujjvala, and others are like Sakhis. They are completely pure and engaged in seeing Madhurya Rasa. Tasham Shriha Sadguna Ratna.
Are there many more verses?
Six more. I can pause, Maharaj. Yes. Yeah.
I think we got the general mood, which is wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's interesting to think that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who would have been in Vrindavan in the 17th century, I'd have to check, maybe early 18th century, is some distance in time from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And how much time he lived in Vrindavan would be interesting to know. And I thought it's also interesting that how much he's praising the residents of Vrindavan. We talked about this last week with His Holiness Sachinandan Swami, how he's emphasizing the special tattva, the special character of the residents of Vrindavan. Also, it meant, there was one line you read that said Vrindavan is is condensed knowledge. And I thought that's interesting. A place becomes condensed knowledge. Okay, thank you very much. And then you said Ramananda Gopal. Is he there?
Krishna Prabhu, Ramananda Gopal Prabhu, can you unmute?
Maybe not. They're in the midst of a festival at Singhachalam. They're having a I guess it's a Ram Vijaya festival, since tomorrow is Ramchandra Vijaya Mahotsava, and they've been having lots of festivities. His Holiness Sachinandan Swami is there. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami is there. And I think not a big number of devotees, but they're having lots of yagyas and whatnot. So maybe he was going to report on that. But alas. Oh, I hear something. Anybody home?
Ramananda Gopal Prabhu is gone. I think he's not in the meeting at the moment.
Yeah. I'm here.
Ah, you're here. Oh, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think the internet is a little bit unstable in Simhachalam, like always. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes, Hare Krishna. Dear Guru Maharaj and dear devotees, I would like to give some updates what's going on at Simhachalam. I sent already something around in the disciple WhatsApp group. We have a special festival this weekend. And first of all, I admit also my obeisances, or the obeisances of Amara Prabhu for Guru Maharaj. And we have Amara Prabhu here because of a special reason. We have this, and there's also somebody joining in as well. Munindra gone. Yeah, we have a special festival because since many years, maybe Guru Maharaj is aware of it, since many years our Lakshmi Devi at the temple is she is a little bit shaking in her socket. Say like that. She's a little bit unstable, and this goes on for many years. And
she is known as Chanchala.
Yes, but Amara was always concerned and said, this is not good and should not be. And also this place is a little bit unstable of the female energy, as he put it. And, Simhachalam a little bit better, maybe, can say something about that. But he thought it's really needed that she is stabilized. So we, yesterday, basically, we moved her energy out of the deity and moved it in a pot, and this was done all in a very elaborate ceremony, all overseen by Amara Prabhu. And then she is prepared by Govinda Dev and Gokul Ranjana Prabhu. And today we will get her back. It's not so easy to repair her, but we hope that everything will go well. And then tomorrow she will be, in the morning, she will be basically reinstalled from the pot where she is right now. She will be reinstalled into the deity. And this was how she was installed in the pot and will be reinstalled. This was very interesting because she is bound with kusha cross to the pot. And we thought like it's like, you know, and now in modern connection it's like a USB cable. You know, so she goes through the cable. And this cable is done with kusha cross. So everything is done by kusha cross in ancient times. That was the USB. And yeah, this will be hopefully done all tomorrow. And then we have tomorrow another very special festival. Most of you probably know, tomorrow is Ram Vichai festival. This is the festival where Lord Ramachandra was victorious over the demon Ravana. And also this is the day where the Pandavas, they took up the weapons again after they were in exile. This was the day they selected, or you know, to go back to the tree where they hid the weapons and took up the weapons again. So they again went into the fighting spirit. And for the community of devotees, that would be for us also that we say, okay, this is a sign what we put in these difficult times, that we want to support the positive energy to be victorious over whatever comes around. And so therefore we ask everybody first of all to give blessings that we can continue with this festival very good, especially with the transformation of Lakshmi Devi, or to repair her, reinstall her, and really make then a difference. And also tomorrow everybody can join in with the festival. We do many homas. We have to do lots of japa. It's still in my Naam japa because I was in the morning on the altar, and then we have to do Mula japa for Lakshmi Devi and Gayatri japas. So this will be quite a process what we all do, and we have to, for example, we have to chant 10,000 times the Mula mantra of Lakshmi Devi, and it's divided into 6 devotees. So we all have to. Oh, Charles, 1 second. Okay, my time, as you can see, is also in other. Is always in other, and attention also divided in different fields. So yeah, we're asking for blessings, and I sent also the schedule in the Guru Maharaj disciple group. So whoever want to join in, it's going on YouTube, simhachalam.de. Yeah, please join in, give your blessings, and yeah, in this way we can all make this an effort for all of us. And we have also the good fortune that His Holiness Candramauli Swami, he is here already for maybe 1 month or something like that. He came over from Radhadesh and stay here till Govardhan Puja, and also joined just for the festival His Holiness Sachinanda Maharaj, who's also here. So yeah, Guru Maharaj, we would have very happily also have you here, but it's not so easy, and we don't know how long we can be still open for the public, this temple. For, you know, we don't know when is the next section. Our area becomes already orange. What means, you know, we don't know, but it's still in the festival is still happening, and we have quite some devotees here who came over here. So yeah, please give us all your blessings that we can continue with this very important ceremony.
Thank you for this report. Singhachalam Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Nrsingadev ki jai.
Hare Krishna jai.
And all the best for the reinstallation of Lakshmi Devi.
Yeah.
That she becomes less chanchala.
Chanchala, yeah. Thank you.
And I was attending from a distance. Yesterday, Satchidananda Swami's Bhagavatam class, and this morning, Kadamba Swami's class. So,
wow.
Anyway, some connection.
They will be very happy to hear this. Okay. So sorry if I'm probably have to get out of the meeting. I always try to listen to it later on. This 7 days is not always the best.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Okay. But thank you for visiting.
No, thank you for giving blessings.
Hari Hari. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Dharma Gupta, is our guest yet with us?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Our guest speaker is with us.
Ciao, geh rein. Geh rein.
Aber was soll ich da machen?
Mama ist drin, Frau Sie.
Ramananda, if you can, yes, turn that off. Okay. And I'm not yet seeing our guest.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, there he is. Candramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the Vaishnavas.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
I feel like I entered into a very august assembly. I feel like a little mouse.
No, this is an October assembly.
Okay. I'm behind the times.
How is your health, Maharaj?
Well, all the symptoms that were there 2 weeks ago are gone.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Fever is gone. Appetite is again strong. Some tiredness, but it appears that I've gotten through it. But I still need to go for a test, which is coming up on Wednesday. So we'll see what it brings.
Well, it sounds like all good news. Glad to hear that you're through the worst of it.
Yeah, it appears to be like something that wasn't as bad as it appeared to be in the beginning, but now it seems to be just, once in a while there's some congestion, but other than that, I'm still chanting and still chanting. Trying to dance. There's not much to dance to here except for the kirtan.
Maharaj, let me just say a couple of words to introduce you, because although most devotees present surely know you very well, I think there may be some who don't know you. And so I want to say that His Holiness Candramauli Swami is, one of the, I would say, pioneers of Srila Prabhupada's mission in America, especially. Somehow I always associate you in my mind with two places. One is New Vrindavan, and the other is Chicago. You spent quite a lot of time, I think, in New Vrindavan in the early days. Maybe you can tell us when you first were there.
My first visit to New Vrindavan was in March of 1973. And I can't even remember what it was that brought me there at the time. Oh, yes. I had met one of our dear God brothers, also a sannyasi, Deva-gan Swami, in New York, in the New York temple in Brooklyn. And in our discussion, he mentioned about this farm community, and I got a little curious, thinking, I'd like to try spiritual life in a more rural environment, more stars, more fresh air, more animals.
Yeah.
So I was inspired by his, enthusiasm about New Vrindavan. And so I went.
Uh-huh.
And then I went by myself, and I wound up taking a bus overnight from New York Port Authority and winding up in New Vrindavan early the next morning. And that was the beginning. That was March. I can actually remember the date. It was March, I believe it was March 18th, 1973.
Oh, you're...
March 25th, that's right, March 25th, 1973.
Wow. I'm impressed. You can tell exact dates of things.
What's your name again? I keep forgetting names. I'm not so good with names, but numbers somehow or other stick with me for some reason.
Now, as I remember, you have told how before you joined the devotees, you were in the U.S. Army and you were in Vietnam, isn't it?
I spent almost 3 years in the Army from 1966 through June of 1969. I joined September 66. And I got out 3 months early on a special arrangement.
So you actually joined. You didn't, you weren't drafted? You enlisted?
That's a story.
Well, it's up to...
I got fooled.
Oh.
Yeah, the draft was on, so I thought, well, to avoid going to Vietnam, I'll just join, and that way I'll get more opportunities to choose where I can go and what I can learn. And once I joined, they said, you're now our property, and so there's no independence. So they sent me to Vietnam.
Exactly the opposite of what you wanted.
Yeah, it was, I got fooled. Most devoted people at that time were finding ways to beat the draft, but I thought I could do it by joining, so it didn't work.
Just 1 second. I see, Daityesha, it looks like you're having trouble hearing for translating. Are you okay? Well, I only see you moving now, but I guess you're okay. Okay, and then, you were repairing helicopters or something in Vietnam?
For the first year, I was a mechanic in a less volatile area of the war, a place in the south that was somewhat free from the main fighting. And I stayed there for 1 year. But then when I came back after 1 year, to the chagrin of my parents, they learned that I decided to go back for an extra 6 months.
You decided.
Because again, it was concessionary that if you extend for 6 months in Vietnam, you can get an early out of the army.
Oh, I see.
3 months off by going back, which wasn't really an intelligent decision when I look back at it. Somehow I made it though. And then for the second 6 months, that's when I was what they say they call it a door gunner on a helicopter.
Oh, okay. You were actually in the helicopter, not repairing.
Yeah, I was on the helicopter as they call it door gunner, and it was these helicopters which are meant for bringing troops in and out of areas and supplies. So it was a non-combatant helicopter.
These big banana shaped.
Yeah, they call them Chinooks.
Yeah.
We also crashed when we were there, so that's another story.
So your realization from all of that was join the Hare Krishnas?
Well, it actually was a stepping stone to theism for me, because although I was brought up in a strict Roman Catholic family, my father was practically good friends with all the priests in the local church and very devout in all his worship. At one point, I became somewhat of an atheist and kind of rejected the idea of God on the principle of philosophy. I started to get into philosophical atheism and started to believe that it was the actual, understanding. When I was in Vietnam, when we had our helicopter crash, when we were losing altitude and going down fast, I did something which surprised me. Still under the illusion of atheism, I called out to God and asked for his help when I was crashing. And I kind of surprised myself at the same time when I did it, because it's something that just came, naturally, involuntarily. So after that, I started to reconsider my beliefs, and that brought me more back to the whole idea of theism again.
They say there are no atheists in foxholes. You know that expression.
It's a truism.
So you had direct experience of that, except not in a foxhole exactly, but in a helicopter falling out of the sky.
Yeah. Well, everything one way or the other, you got to get to Krishna consciousness. So I guess I had to do it the hard way.
And then it was soon after you were released from the army that you joined the devotees?
I got out in 1969 June, and I had met the devotees in 1970 at an anti-war rally against the war in Washington, D.C.
Oh.
That was my first contact with the devotees. And I received a Back to Godhead magazine and some incense, and read it. Didn't understand anything, but still I read it. And I kept it in my desk drawer for a couple of years, and then 2 years later, I again revisited it, and that was the time, right around the time I came in contact with devotees.
May I ask, what were you doing in Washington, D.C. at the time?
I was protesting the war.
Oh, I see. You went with them.
Yeah, I became a member of a group called the Vietnam Veterans Against the War.
Uh-huh.
We were traveling and preaching around and giving symposiums, seminars on why the war was wrong and our own personal experiences. So it was an actual organized group of veterans.
Mm-hmm. So you were a preacher before you joined the devotees.
I got some training, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
And then somehow or other, becoming disgusted with material life in general, I went to a place in America called Denver, Colorado. And then there was a place nearby there, about an hour away, another small city which had a university, and that was called Boulder, Colorado. And at that time, Boulder, Colorado was somewhat the mecca of Eastern spiritual ashrams. A lot of yogis and those other saints who came from India established their ashram there. So that's
there was Berkeley, California, which is where I was on the West Coast. And then the next stop was Boulder, Colorado.
Right. Boulder was, I mean, nothing compared to Berkeley, but it was more like a condensed version with all these different ashrams. And then I met the devotees at the temple. When I came to the temple one day on an invitation, and everything changed from there. That's how it all began.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, it's kind of a spotted history, but it's a history.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I got a lot of mercy.
So, Maharaj, you are very much known and appreciated for your activity in a very special field of preaching called the prison ministry. And you've published, I know of 2 books on this subject. Are there any more than the first 2, or is it the 2?
Well, we're still compiling information that hopefully will be the next book, because we want to update what's happening in the general sphere in terms of what's going on in the prisons and how Srila Prabhupada's books are becoming a major factor in changing people's lives.
Can you take us, so to say, from the beginning of this activity, and how things, some highlights, how you've ventured into this?
A lot of it is mentioned in the first book, which is entitled Holy Jail. And there's a little history of how I got involved and also how prison preaching evolved. The original prison preacher in our ISKCON society is His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada, who in 1962 went to Tihar jail in, I believe, in Delhi.
Wow, yes, it's in Delhi.
Yeah, and they was invited by the head jailer, Mr. Puri, his name was, to give a talk to a group of inmates. Prabhupada was so inspired by the response and how attentive they were. And Prabhupada saw that this was a way that we could spread Krishna consciousness to reach these. So Prabhupada was the first, and then of course again in 1972, Prabhupada again went to one jail with some of his disciples at the time, and again spoke. From there, things didn't really develop so much in that area anywhere in the world until one devotee, Godbrother Chandrasekhar. There was a few Chandrasekhars, but this one was one who lived in America. And he got inspired by the whole idea and started writing letters to all the different jails in America, asking if he could send books to the inmates, and if they had anyone that would be interested in corresponding with him. And although the results were meager, something came. And then he started sending Srila Prabhupada's books into different inmates who showed some kind of interest in Eastern philosophy, although they didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness at the time. And then he started to develop that in a very big way, writing on the average of 20 letters per day to different inmates. And then somehow or other, while we were in New Vrindavan, New Vrindavan has a little bit of a history that is not so much spoken about for obvious reasons. And one of the devotees in New Vrindavan wound up in jail, in the local jail in Moundsville, West Virginia. And then we started to go to visit him and do programs in the jail. So between corresponding with Chandrasekhar, which came later through my inspiration of doing jail preaching in Moundsville, West Virginia, I wound up getting more and more involved with sending letters and actually arranging for visits to some of these inmates. And I was able to not directly contact all of the ones that I were writing, but a few of the inmates were able to get permission to allow people to come in from the outside and have a meeting with them, more like one-on-one. So I started doing that one-on-one with different inmates, developing relationships with them, and then gradually sending in books. And that's how it really expanded in different areas through Srila Prabhupada's books. In some countries, we actually have full sets of Prabhupada's books in libraries in the jails, such as Croatia. Every jail in Croatia has a set of Srila Prabhupada's books that have been translated in the local language.
Mm.
And of course, in America, that's where our biggest clientele is, you could say. And they're writing letters, visiting, and also sending in Srila Prabhupada's books. And many of the inmates who are come in contact with Krishna consciousness their whole life, and whole values are changing. And that's illustrated nicely in the second book that I published called Forbidden Voices, which is a complete focus on the inmates and their realizations. Yeah, that's the book, Forbidden Voices. That's a jail cell there on the bottom. And that's Radha Manohar from, I believe, from Montreal. So,
can you tell us something about some particular inmates, memorable cases, so to say?
I can do one in an indirect way. I have some also my own personal experiences, but this one that was done through another devotee is quite phenomenal, amazing. And this happened in one country where we're not allowed to preach. It's a country that's off limits, even for Krishna consciousness in general. Fortunately, one of our devotees was able to get a position in the jail as a Hindu chaplain.
Huh.
And based on that position, he was able to hold classes there At one point, after being there for some time, he requested the local administration that if they had any inmates who were of the Hindu nationality. And they said, yes, actually, we have one who is, he's actually sentenced to death row in a few months. So we'll request him and see if he'd like to come to your meeting. And they did, and he started coming. We were teaching Bhagavad Gita. And his attitude was at the beginning quite, what we say, negative, in the sense that he was holding a grudge against everyone, blaming everyone for his situation, claiming that he was actually, not really guilty, although he was involved in the crime and he's being punished unfairly. But after coming to our meetings and listening to the Bhagavad Gita lectures, and then we had some programs where the inmates would learn verses, he started becoming more of an avid reader of Gita. So much so that aside from the classes, he was regularly reading the Gita. And then his whole attitude kind of changed after that, which was phenomenal. He started to admit that actually crime was his fault. And then he was apologizing for whatever he did. And he was feeling very remorseful for his previous crimes. And at the same time, he was becoming happy that he actually came in contact with Krishna consciousness, and he felt that this is what he was looking for in life. So after some time, it came to that time where he was about to be executed. And so he had requested the jailers that when you take me for execution, I would like to carry the Bhagavad Gita with me. So they didn't have any problem with that. And of course, as it was described later by the jailers to our chaplain, that they were shocked. Nobody willingly goes to their execution. But he was walking along, and as he was walking along, he was passing the cells of other inmates, waving goodbye to them and saying that he was going to be a devotee of Krishna in his next life. And there was no resistance on his part. He just went voluntarily to his execution.
Wow.
And that was the first time, at least from the jailers' experience, that they had that ever happened. So the Bhagavad Gita just transformed him completely. And, made him into a devotee.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a really amazing story.
That was, you said, indirect. Someone else, I think, was involved in that.
Yeah, the chaplain actually, the devotee who was a chaplain, he wrote me the whole thing in an article explaining everything. And I was told not to tell where it happened, because if they find out that he is Hare Krishna in that country, then he will immediately lose his job, and then he'll be thrown out of the country too.
Yeah. And is there some episode from your own experience you could share?
My own experience mostly is just how receptive many of the inmates have been every time we go into the jails and perform some kirtan and do a little pravachan, discuss how very open they are to hear. Of course, sometimes we find there's a few challengers who want to learn more and challenge you in your philosophy. But that's expected. But generally, how open they are to Krishna consciousness. And many of them take up the chanting. I remember one time I went into one jail, and there was one, well, I can tell you a nice story that happened actually last October. It's an interesting story. There's one group of inmates in one jail called Petersburg, Virginia. And there's one young man there. He received initiation while he was in jail. And he's so enthusiastic, and he's always rallying the other inmates. So he's so enthusiastic in his practice, and also quite strong personality, that he was able to arrange for deities in the jail. So when I came, he had deities of Gaur-Nitai, deities of Radha and Krishna, a big deity of Ganesh, a deity of Nrsingadev. He's got pictures of Tulsi everywhere. And yeah, his enthusiasm is just like amazing. He was formerly a Mormon. And then while he was in the Mormon church, something happened and caused him to be put in jail. He did something. I usually never ask the inmates what is their crime unless they want to voluntarily speak about it. I feel like I'm imposing by speaking like that, or maybe even embarrassing them. So he never told me what he did, but he's amazing that when I came last October, I had gotten an arrangement through the jail to come and give a class to the inmates there who were holding regular Bhagavad Gita classes at a certain time once a week. And so, in my hurriedness to get to the jail, and I was staying at someone's house at the time, so they had taken me to the jail and dropped me off. I forgot my ID. I had no ID. And you just don't get into jails without identification. They have to check the records and make sure you're scheduled, and then see your ID and make sure you're the person that matches up with the schedule. So when I got there, I realized I'm in trouble. And I couldn't reach my hosts where I was staying. They were at work. And so I was thinking what to do. So at that time, the person in charge at the desk said, well, the head chaplain, he wants to meet you and escort you into the program today. So he said, wait here. So I waited, and finally this very friendly man came in. His name was, I forgot his name, Chaplain, can't remember his name. He was a black-bodied man, very friendly, very open. And he welcomed me in. He liked the fact that the Hare Krishnas were in the jail and they were having programs. So then we talked, and then he walked me through the security without checking my ID. I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. Nobody asked me for my ID and I'm inside already. So now I'm sitting there, and he said, I'll be right back. And then I started to pray to Krishna, and my dear Krishna, thank you for getting me in. Now I have to pray more just in case something else happens. So I started to pray more. So then he comes back and says, oh yes, we need your identification. And I acted like, well, really? I was supposed to bring it? I acted like I was like, I didn't know, you know? He said, oh, this is not good. But since we had developed a friendship, he said, I'll be right back. And so he was gone for about 20 minutes, and I was really chanting some really good rounds at the time, sitting there waiting. And then he came back and he said, this is amazing, you know? He said, the warden never comes in. I can never find him in his office. Today, he just happened to be in his office. I presented the situation and he gave approval. So they approved me to go in. And then when I went in, of course, I was a little late for the program because of all this paperwork that we had to do prior. The inmates, each one of them, there was about 9 of them waiting, and they all came up to me and offered full obeisances. And I was thinking, what is this? This is amazing. And then, of course, I could understand that devotee who was leading the group, this was his preaching.
He was training them up, huh?
Oh, he was really training them up. And then, of course, I got in, and then I gave a lecture. We had a kirtan. They had their instruments. They had some guitars, and they also had one mridanga. So it was guitar and mridanga kirtan. And at the end, we took some photos, and everybody was pleased. And on my way out, I met my friend again, the chaplain. He asked me how everything went. I said, oh, thank you very much. So that was quite amazing to be able to get into a jail without an ID. That was direct divine intervention.
Maharaj, are there any devotees who became devotees through this program in prison, and then they've been let out of prison, they've completed their term, and now they are regular devotees?
There are some that have received, that have gotten out, that are on parole, but it's always difficult for them to actually visit temples. Aside from the restrictions now, even before then, many of them, when they get out, they have to parole. And parole means they can't leave the area that they're in.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's no temple there. And we always have a little difficulty allowing for inmates to come into temples. Usually the temple authorities, ex-inmates, they're a little bit cautious of such persons. They should be a little bit more open, but I guess through experience, they're afraid that that some of these, because they're still a little bit rough around the edges when they get out. It's just the nature of being in jail.
Yeah. Maybe we should ask now if anyone present here has a question for you. Could be on this subject. Oh, here's a question from Ratnavali.
Okay.
Asking what inspired you or motivated you to preach in jail?
Well, actually, the motivation was largely due to the inspiration I got from Chandrasekhar. His enthusiasm to reach the inmates and to help them. He became quite intimate with a lot of the inmates and actually made them personal friends. And so his concern for this population was very inspiring, and I thought, nice, it's a nice way to preach. And somehow I was attracted to the whole idea. And of course, we were sending books in, writing letters. And also later on, we developed a whole program of sending tests, shastric tests, to those who were practicing regularly, so they could learn more about Krishna consciousness. There's one young man who I visited about 4 years ago. He is out now. So he lives in West Virginia, and he's practicing Krishna consciousness at home. He's been to New Vrindavan a few times for a visit. But basically, he doesn't associate so much with devotees, but he chants and he reads Prabhupada's books. He was very much inspired in his own Krishna consciousness by Radhanath Swami's book, The Journey Home. That was something he not only read, but reread, and felt that this is something very wonderful to hear about the life, how a person becomes spiritually, connected through a life's journey. He was really, really, really attracted to Maharaj's book. Yeah, it was nice.
There's a question from Kaveri. If you could please say something about the initiation of the person in prison that you mentioned.
Let's see. Well, Bhakti-Marg Swami gave initiation to one man, but that's also illustrated nicely with stories and pictures in our book, Holy Jail. And he went into the jail and gave initiation to one young man, and they gave him the name Arjuna Acharya, I think his name was. He came in with the Bhagavad Gita, and they met personally. He told him, Maharaj told him, put your hand on the Bhagavad Gita and repeat after me. And then he said some mantras, and that was the initiation. Nothing very formal. And then, let's see, there was another person. I believe Vaisheshika Prabhu also. Vaisheshika has initiated one young man in jail who was a gang member in Los Angeles. Very heavy duty character, but now completely changed. And he received the name Balavan Nitai. And I've corresponded with Balavan Nitai regularly, and he's quite an interesting personality. He loves to read Chaitanya Charitamrita and preach to his fellow inmates. He's a person who was involved with many murders when he was a gang member. So his sentence is life in prison. He's without parole.
Oh.
And he told me an interesting story, how Krishna consciousness changed him. When he was in the prison, he was out walking in the area where they go for exercises and calisthenics and running and everything. So it's kind of an open thing where the inmates can associate with each other. So when an inmate came up to him and asked him, and his name was Ben Baker. He said, "Are you Ben Baker?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Well, you killed my best friend." And then he attacked him immediately. And so there was a scuffle. But Ben, as he describes it, says, all I did was hold the man down until the guards came. And then they took him away. He said, normally if I'm attacked like that, I would have probably killed him. But somehow Lord Nityananda has shown his mercy to me. So he was actually a little surprised how he didn't try to fight back, but just restrained the man until the guards came. So he's becoming gentle.
There are more questions here. Let's see.
You have quite a large group here.
Yeah, we have enthusiastic. Every Saturday we're doing this. We call it Saturday Sanga. And we've been every Saturday since, since April, I think. And yeah, it started out, I was in India. I was at this farm in northern Maharashtra in lockdown situation. It's Talasari. It's the farm of ISKCON Juhu, which is about 45 minutes from Govardhan Eco Village.
I heard about that.
It's a very nice farm, but it's a very different kind of a setup from Govardhan Eco Village is kind of like Beverly Hills, and this Talasari farm is more like, I don't know.
New York, Bowery.
Well, hard to, I don't know, but certainly not like Govardhan Eco Village. Anyway, so I was there for 10 weeks and then I managed to get a flight to Frankfurt. And then I've come here to Poland. And you've been in Slovenia all these months, I think.
I started off in the Croatian temple back in the middle of March. I also have a place, a little house in Zagreb. So I spent about a week in Zagreb before, and then I came to the temple because the devotees asked me if I could come and be part of the temple at the time. There was just a handful of brahmacharis there and one grihasta couple. So I stayed there giving classes and also giving online classes also from April throughout the whole month of May. The beginning of June, I moved out of the temple and back to my place in Zagreb. And then I was offered a place here in Slovenia, right near the temple, which was more to suit my needs. It's an apartment, it has 3 rooms, 2 rooms and a little kitchenette. So I thought, okay, and I could be near the devotees. Ananta is here, and Prahladananda Maharaj has been here since March. So I came, and that was in the end of June, and I've been here ever since.
There's a question here. Hemangi Gopi is asking if you have any comments on COVID-19 because of your personal or related to your personal experience. Any reflections?
Take a lot of vitamin C.
So
take a lot of ginger.
Okay.
Avoid sugar completely. White sugar, and milk products are also can also aspirate, what we say, exasperate, or what's the word? Increase the field of COVID. So keep minimal with milk products.
Mm-hmm.
Some doctors recommend no milk products at all. A lot of chanting.
Mm.
I was able to increase my rounds to 32 rounds a day. So, and I find that something that is really satisfying now.
Mm.
Oh yeah, and what's very important from the health point of view is getting exercise. If the weather allows, or trying to find some time where you can get out and walk around. That, I think, has helped me get over my disease a lot, just being out and walking.
Mm.
Gets the lungs moving, seems to expel all the contaminations in the chest. Go for a good walk.
Mm-hmm. And we hear that vitamin D is very important, and also zinc.
I'm taking those also,
Mm-hmm.
along with selenium.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that, yeah. Trying to eat quite simple. Nothing fancy. Khichdi, soup, teas, some fruit like that.
Any thoughts about the bigger picture of how this pandemic may be a phenomenon that is arising due to the progress of the age of Kali, or anything of that sort?
Well, I do have my opinions, which are a little bit on the political side, which I think that the pandemic is not as full-blown as it's being described. And COVID is there, but there are also other viruses that are also being thrown into the COVID category. In other words, if you have a virus, you have COVID. So, and that's questionable in my case too, whether I actually got it or not. But I did have a virus. I'm not sure if I had the actual coronavirus or not. Of course, it's interesting. I started to read your book on cow care.
Oh.
And I came across that statistic you footnoted, where the countries that are most involved with slaughterhouse activities, such as China, US, India, Brazil, also seems to be the countries that have the most infections of coronavirus. So it's obvious listening to Srila Prabhupada's statements, and there's a beautiful verse, well, in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 15th chapter, verse number 24. So Prabhupada in the purport very directly relates war and pestilence to the animal killing and sinful activities.
Yeah. There's also a question here on going back to your Vietnam days. Chitrakarani wants to know what happened to that helicopter.
I have pictures of it.
Achha.
It's all twisted and smashed. And
was it shot at and therefore it came down?
No, because it was a
just engine failure.
Yeah, we picked up a huge load hanging out the bottom of the helicopter on these big gigantic straps. And we got up about 200 or more feet and both engines went out simultaneously.
Wow.
And we went straight down.
Wow. A big chunk of metal.
And that's when I called out, "Oh God, save me."
Did everyone else survive?
Everyone survived. There was 5 of us on the aircraft, but the pilots got broken arms and broken legs. They were pretty well battered up, but they survived. And then there was 2 other persons besides myself. We came out a lot. The only injury I had is I smashed my elbow against something and it caused some bone chips into the skin. Later healed itself through the course of time.
So Krishna was very kind.
Yeah.
To you.
Saved me. Saved me so I could get your association.
So you could live to tell us the tale, so we can have your association.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Maharaj, for visiting us, taking all your time to be with us. I know it's been enlivening for me, and I'm sure for all the devotees as well. And sometime, perhaps in the future, we will pester you again.
Please pester with a capital P.
Maybe I will end today's session, and you're welcome to stay. We're just another 5 minutes with a poem by our godbrother Kalakanta Prabhu. Maharaj, you may or may not know of this little book that he compiled.
Oh, this is quite recent, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is. It's called All That Lies Between, a Disciple's Appreciation of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada. And so he, as you know, I'm sure, he writes these very sweet, this sweet poetry based on Shastra that's always with rhythm and rhyme.
Rhyme too, yeah.
And so this is praising Srila Prabhupada, and what he does is with each poem, he then gives notes of explanation for those who are not familiar. So I'll read, let's see, some of this, maybe not all. This poem is called All That Lies Between.
The title poem.
Yes, that's the title of the poem. So he says, and he's addressing Srila Prabhupada, you could have stayed in Vraja Dham, where chanting is most sweet, or moved to holy Navadvip in spiritual retreat. Your godbrothers had temples there with room enough for you to sit and speak on holidays to a visitor or two. You could have said, it's Krishna's will. My visa was denied. I may have failed, but now I know at least that I have tried. Your patrons said you'd die abroad. Your godbrothers just scoffed. You could have said, who'll meet the boat and guide me safely off? You could have had one look at us and asked, what have I done? Then caught the next boat back to home, unblamed by anyone. The Westerners, you could have said, can go to hell and stay. Who would have disagreed with you? We were well on our way. Instead, you laid your final years like flowers at Krishna's feet. Siddhanta's smile, your hidden guide, Thakura's vision in reach. Producing 80 volumes as you guided us along, you showed us how to cook prasad and teach Lord Krishna's song. And as we teach, the boys and girls from every land on earth come forth to serve you, Prabhupada, renewed in second birth. That's the first part of the song, of the poem. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 7 more verses. Shall I read them?
If you're inclined to.
Okay. So that first part is addressed to Srila Prabhupada, and now Kalakanta is speaking of himself. He says, I could have been a PhD had I but stayed in school, piled up a couple million, built a fancy house and pool. I could have written novels, legislated laws and rules, or been a famous music star. I could have been just cool. Instead, I laid my youthful years like flowers at your feet. Malporas caused my interest, and samosas my defeat.
Sweet.
My dad said, son, you're brainwashed. My friend said, you're a fool. My blunders as a Vaishnava were many, triumphs few. Reflecting on my bygone youth, as one my age is prone, I wouldn't trade your glance for gold, your words for precious stones. This morning on the Japa trail, the northern star shone down. So fixed and true, it seemed like you, with devas dancing round. Then dawn concealed that starry stage and lit a wintry scene of all I am and all you are and all that lies between.
Beautiful. Perfect title to all that lies in between.
All that lies between. So, yeah, so thank you again, Maharaj, for joining us. And thanks to all of you for joining us. And I will say a request for prayers. We do have, we have devotees whose whose health conditions are much challenged. There's, I haven't heard latest news, but Yasomati Nandana Prabhu, our godbrother, was a few days ago reported in emergency intensive care unit with COVID in Ahmedabad.
His health is always precarious anyway.
Yes. We have Ananda Kishori Devi Dasi in Oxford, very special devotee and wonderful family. She is facing the end of her presence in this world with cancer.
From London? She's from London?
Oxford.
Yeah. I just received a picture of her and a request for prayer. Yeah.
Yes.
She is such a sweetheart.
Yes.
That was a shock. Yeah. Ananda Kishori Devi Dasi, yeah. I have a picture.
And then also we have one of the earliest disciples of mine, Yoga Maya, is in Boston. Prayers for her. She is in treatment for cancer. And she has been greatly determined, despite her condition, to cook for the deities and the devotees in the Boston temple, despite herself not being able to eat what she cooks. I just got that report. We have Sunandana Das in Split, has been also diagnosed with cancer, and we're praying for him. And I believe now he's I think with us now, and I hope he is recovered from a condition. Sundar Gopal, are you there still? Sundar Gopal and Tarani Saki I saw some time ago. In any case, our best wishes and prayers for Sundar Gopal. So, yes, you're there?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here. I'm better. Thank you for everything.
Jai. Are you back home now?
Yeah, I'm now home for 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
But I should stay longer inside, but I was really progressing quickly, so they left me from rehabilitation. It should last for 3 months, but I came out in 3 weeks, so now I'm doing rehabilitation from home.
Okay, very good. So all best wishes from all of us for your full recovery.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. We will see you next week. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Krishna Kshetra Maharaj ki jai.
Candramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Obeisances, my obeisances and best wishes to all the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you. Your Holiness Candramauli Swami.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. God brothers, God sisters. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. See you next week.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
All the best to everybody.
Welcome you to Beijing.
Oh,
Beijing. How it is in Beijing? Is it okay there?
Yes, okay. Very nice.
Oh, it's so nice to see you, devotees from China. Wonderful.
Yes.
Oh.
Welcome. Okay.
很高兴见到你呀、
Hare Krishna.
哇，哇
十姊
家
妹好，很高兴见到你，哈利波。
哈利波，Hare Krishna，你现在好吗？哇，这是好可爱。那是你的朋友吗
This is my mother. This is my mother.
哇，他太年轻了，哎呦，对不起
She's
啊
my dear brother. Yeah.
，Mother 姐嘛，啊
And Haribol to every devoted gospel.
Hare Krishna，I'm so sorry。他猫太年轻了吧？你看，爸。